Visiting them. Science fiction movies and books have always been pop culture favorites. As scientists and astronauts venture into space, we sit on Earth and watch in awe, sometimes asking the question, when can I go? CNET's Hari Srinivasan takes a look.
Space, the new frontier, virgin territory for tomorrow's pioneers. The idea of conquering and colonizing space has been science fiction. In a not-so-distant future, science fiction will become science fact. I'm Hari Srinivasan.
It seems to be programmed into all of us, the desire to be greater, to go further, to break down the boundaries. When we look to the stars, some of us wonder, how far can we go? Some scientists think not only will we go far, but we'll go soon.
Seem believable? You know, it's not that unreasonable to think that you might spend a couple of weeks vacationing in space, or who knows, maybe move on to another planet. I mean, who thought Neil Armstrong was going to walk on the moon, right? When he took those first steps, they seemed like real small steps. And if we start moving into other planets on our solar system, they're going to be in small steps too. But then when we look back at the big picture, it's going to seem like a giant leap.
Humans are shortly going to move off the surface of the Earth, and there'll be a permanent human colony, if you will, at the space station.
The first step in finding our way to living in and inhabiting space starts with the discovery of the effects of living in space on humans. The International Space Station, long the subject of science fiction and speculation, is the first stop on our celestial voyage. The product of 14 years of preparation, the ISS will be the Earth's interstellar laboratory and launchpad for colonization.
The station offers us our first opportunity to really establish for the U.S. and some of our partners the ability to live long-term in a microgravity environment, which means when we look at going out and exploring and colonizing the moon, that we're going to be better prepared and understand how to exist in that environment.
The whole point of doing extended research in space is to study the effects of gravity on living things and materials. The space station will experience microgravity, about a millionth of the force of gravity that there is on the Earth's surface.
We look at this force of gravity, it's just completely awesome. It just impacts us over and over again in our daily lives. In spaceflight, long-term exposure to microgravity is going to allow us to have a better understanding of the force of gravity in our day-to-day life.
By studying the reactions of plants, animals, and humans to microgravity, scientists can better understand how the Earth's constant gravitational pull affects the way living things develop. Understanding the effects of Earth's gravity can help us understand how we will be affected in space without it. Eventually, ordinary citizens might live aboard the space station and help dissolve the line between professional space explorer and curious space tourist.
I'm sure that people will eventually, on a vacation, visit places like the space station or something. Long after that, they'll probably visit a place like Mars. Again, this requires we get the costs even further down for people to take a vacation to Mars, because the airfare is wicked.
I'd pay $10,000 for a trip onto the space, over to the moon and all.
I don't think I'd pay too much. I don't think it's that interesting.
They'd have to pay me.
I don't know, I'd pay anything. It'd be awesome, I think. Yeah, it'd be awesome to go.
Questions about how space can improve our lives on Earth, no doubt, are important to answer. But what about living our lives in space?
I would love to go up and see the view and look down on Earth, see the continents, see the oceans, and experience zero G's. I think that would be an amazing thing. Only astronauts get to do that now. Maybe someday the rest of us will too.
In our ever-shrinking world, it seems there are no more hills to climb, no new oceans to cross. Modern adventurers are looking more and more to the heavens as the next explorable frontier.
Our horizons seem to be broadening. We're thinking more expansively. And it's not just NASA. NASA's doing this too, but it's a whole range of other people. And it's a kind of a progressive vision that they're espousing. They're talking about new opportunities in space. They're talking about new civilizations. They're talking about colonies. They're talking about adventure.
That adventure includes some fantastic ideas. Space hotel projects are in development across the country. Space Island Group of California plans to use empty fuel tanks from the space shuttle to build a giant space hotel that'll orbit the moon. The hotel could house up to 300 space guests with a view that would be out of this world.
Maybe what will happen is the human race will move away from the Earth to Mars. It's the most likely place to go if you either have to or wish to vacate the Earth.
The space station is one rung of the ladder we're building from the Earth to the stars. There is another space race, however, here on Earth. Private companies and entrepreneurs are developing the machines that just might take you and me into the heavens.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 4. We have engine ignition. We have liftoff of Sea Launch, the world's first commercial launch from an ocean-based platform, and the beginning of a new era in international space cooperation.
The corporate world is shooting for the stars as it develops new ways to get payloads and people into orbit. Futuristic vehicles like the Hypersaur and Venture Star may someday deliver passengers and payloads into space. While other ideas like Rotary Rocket's Roton vehicle seem to come straight out of the pages of a sci-fi comic book.
Studies have shown that there's a lot of interest among the general population to be able to go up in a rocket and take one lap around Mother Earth and sort of see it as the blue pearl.
I think it'll take about 5 years before all the entrepreneurs are going to spring up to do all the crazy sounding things that people don't take seriously. Orbital hotels and manufacturing in space and solar power satellites. There are things to do beyond low Earth orbit, and the moon is out there and Mars is out there, and I think that you're going to see cheap access to space is going to enable private industry to go do things not only equaling but surpassing anything government space agencies have thought of doing.
For the first time in human history, non-governmental astronauts will be able to fly in space and work there.
I'm making plans to leave the planet by 2015. I'm not buying any more dogs, and my kids will be grown by then. So that gives you a pretty good idea of where I think things are going.
My biggest concerns would obviously be oxygen.
Not being able to get back.
Running out of air.
Massage possibilities. I need to have all the amenities.
The desire to vacation or adventure in space seems to be realistically within our reach. Is the space of our tomorrow filled with private rockets and space hotels?
The thing that seems to be on the horizon is people's innate sense of adventure and exploration. So if the costs of getting into space can be brought down, ordinary people will all want to go. And maybe they are the ones who will drive the colonization of space. So private enterprise is stepping into the breach. Space hotels are being designed right now by Japanese and other companies, believing that they should be there when the demand emerges, to have these places, these destinations that people can go to. A honeymoon looking down on Earth. Imagine that.
The sky's the limit to what we can dream about, whether it's waking up and watching the Earth rise or venturing further and actually living on another planet.
It's amazing what's on the drawing boards now, and in places like NASA or at universities. It sounds like science fiction. There are people at NASA who are investigating ideas that are, just a few years ago would have just been laughed at. Faster than light space travel, ways to traverse, to get around normal space and time.
Picture this, they shove you into a tin can, they light a fire under your seat, and then they hurl you out into the void. Sound like a good time? Well, if you want to be one of the first people to vacation in space, that is going to be what it's like. And when you get there, this is probably the biggest room you'll get. And if you don't like it, you can't really walk down the street and go to another hotel.
Although life aboard the ISS will be less cramped and more comfortable than the shuttle or Mir space station, it's still not the Ritz.
Well, as you can see here, we use all 4 floors, okay? Or you can say this is the floor and this is the floor. We use all 4 sides of a module to either store equipment or run experiments or provide instrumentation. And this is the type of environment these individuals are going to have to live in.
Your living room, it's not, but it is an example of what could be to come. Form follows function may be the mantra of current space station designers, where everything on board has a specific scientific purpose. Maybe one day it'll become more like a floating hotel. But for now, this space station is a floating science building, where questions about the future health and well-being of space travelers will be addressed and answered.
On the top of that is the health and well-being of the astronauts. That is that we have to take care of them from a health point of view. We're going to learn a lot about what the long-term effects are on individuals in space in the absence of gravity or in low gravity states.
It's always the case that when you go somewhere else and learn about that, what you've really learned about is where you came from. And when you go back to where you came from, now you understand that place so much better because you've seen the differences, you've seen how things change, you see what's alike, what's different, and you can fix your models, fix your understanding so that you can then understand how your environment changes, what effects you have on it, and what the possible future of Earth is.
The future of Earth is perhaps the reason to explore space, but the quest for knowledge on a greater scale is what ultimately drives the visionary spirit. What awaits us on our voyage to the Milky Way? Will the human spirit be up to the challenge? Will the universe open itself up to us? The possibilities may be limited only by our imaginations.
Talking about new opportunities in space. They're talking about new civilizations. They're talking about colonies. They're talking about adventure.
An adventure for scientists now, but soon an adventure for anyone with a desire to go.
Ordinary people are very likely to say, yes, I'll put up a month's salary or something like that to go into space, to see what it's like, to look down on Earth and, get the view that only astronauts have been able to get.
I like to go to Mars. Yeah, the moon's kind of boring. Mars would be a different place, further out. It'd be a little neater to go to Mars.
I like to go to Mars because I want to see the Martians.
I think I'd like to go to Saturn. Looks pretty cool. Check out the rings and whatnot.
Astronauts have the most amazing view of Earth. We're never going to argue that, but this view isn't just fun and games. This view gives them the opportunity to observe and learn things about the planet that we all inhabit. Now, these learning laboratories up in the sky, these space stations, could provide us with some really valuable information to help us make sure that when we leave planet Earth, it's with every intention of coming back. It's not that we're leaving because we destroyed everything down here.
The station will weigh more than 1 million pounds and circle the globe once every 90 minutes at a distance of 220 miles. This makes it an excellent observation platform from which to study atmospheric and environmental conditions as part of NASA's mission to planet Earth.
The ecology movement, for example, has gained immensely from our ability to look back at Earth, see how small and fragile it is. I can't think of anything more, beautiful than looking back at Earth and just having the opportunity to watch it change from that distance.
As amazing as it'll be to look back at the Earth, the infinite possibilities of space compel us to turn our heads in the direction of the unknown, or relatively unknown. The space station will serve as an aid to the development of our sister planet, Mars.
The space station also could play a role as a place for people to go and experience space to satisfy their own human curiosity. But the space station is also a tool for bringing life to Mars. It's part of the way we will get to Mars.
Getting people into space is expensive. While NASA forges new ground with government money, private industry is stepping up with some ideas about how to get astronomical costs down to Earth.
Rotary Rocket's ingenious Roton is one of the most interesting concepts to hit the market. This fully manned, single-stage, reusable rocket will be able to carry both payload and passengers into orbit at a fraction of the cost of today's launch systems.
The Roton design is inherently the lowest possible operating cost for any space transportation vehicle. Nothing whatsoever is thrown away.
The difference between conventional expendable rockets and the Roton is that the Roton comes home to land.
Using a unique rocket engine and propeller landing design, the Roton will be able to launch itself into orbit and return its crew safely to the landing zone over and over again.
You have propellant in the vehicle, the crew's sitting in the cockpit, we ignite the engines, release the vehicle, and off we go. The main engines burn, then you're in orbit. Okay, you kick the satellite out of the payload bay, close the doors, turn the vehicle around base first for entry, and deploy the rotors. The rotors are deployed in space. Now you're ready for entry. You fire the auxiliary thrusters again. It's like an amusement park ride. These are building up. Short period. It's over, and now you're falling.
The Roton is sort of a multi-personality type vehicle in the approach and landing phase. It's most closely aligned with helicopters. Most helicopters, since they're driven by an engine internal to the airframe, there's anti-torque that has to be worked against. That's why they have tail booms or tail rotors. Our helicopter, the blades are driven by tip rockets on the blade tips, so that we don't have this anti-torque that we have to fight. It means the body doesn't want to spin in the opposite direction of the blades.
About 30 seconds away from landing, you kick the tip rockets on. That provides you with enough power that you can actually hover. It lets you do a power landing. You come in, hover, stop, line up, and touchdown.
Perhaps exploration and discovery are innate characteristics of humans. We've conquered most of our Earth, so now, as we face the new millennium, we look to the celestial frontier and dream of the secrets it has to reveal to us.
In the future, space travel will not only be about exploration, it'll be about business, manufacturing, and getting much-needed satellites into orbit.
We want to drive this industry as far and as fast as possible, and the way to do that is through low cost.
NASA has been both supportive of our efforts and our competitors' efforts because launch costs dominate the NASA budget at this time.
This is a market which is not going to die. This is an insatiable market, and it will grow.
Companies like the Space Island Group see the future of the space market as ripe for development. They're working on zero-gravity hotels, which will be built out of the used fuel tanks from the space shuttle. While Space Island Group hopes to take advantage of galactic recycling, companies like Rotary Rocket, Lockheed Martin, and even NASA are working to develop reusable launch systems to lower the cost of space travel.
The Reusable Launch Vehicle program is developing the technologies that may lead to future space transportation systems beyond the space shuttle that continue to open up the space frontier for everybody. And so we can get lower cost, so we can put more things in space and do more things in space than we currently do today.
The X-33 launch vehicle is the subscale demonstrator for the full-scale Lockheed Martin Venture Star. The Venture Star will be the next generation launch vehicle, providing lower cost access to space.
The X-33 has a very complicated shape. It's a lifting body that drives a lot of structural complexity and a lot of structural weight. And they take off vertically, so they have to have all the thrust structure to hold their weight that way. And then they land horizontally, so they have to stiffen the wings to hold the vehicle up in that orientation. It's a much more complicated problem. X-33 is a very, very aggressive program, technologically speaking, much more than ours, I think.
There may be room for all these vehicles in the future as we expand our reach and develop new applications in space.
When the manufacturers realize that we can put our hands on the satellite, we can assemble them on orbit, we can take two launches to put two pieces of a bigger satellite together and then launch it into a higher orbit. After they realize that we really have that ability, they'll start redesigning their satellites, and we will revolutionize the industry.
These pioneers paved the way to our lives in space. They're blazing a trail for all of us to follow, not over oceans or mountains, but into the heavens, taking the first steps to shrinking the universe, allowing us to better understand not only our solar system, but our position in the galaxy.
What we're going to do is try and understand how the universe is an abode for life.
Every time we think we figure out one thing that's a mystery in space, we find 6, 7, 8 more questions. But instead of turning us off, it just makes us want it that much more. It just makes us want to figure out what is in this unknown realm of space. But there is one thing that's clear, and that's that the impossible is becoming much more possible.
The fantastic frontier of space. Human beings have forever dreamed of conquering the next horizon. As we look to the frontier of space, we look with great curiosity. And that curiosity begs the question, when will we go there? When will we leave the planet? Regardless of the barriers between today and tomorrow, the question of humans visiting, living in, and colonizing space no longer seems to be if, but when.
The future will always be a mystery. What compels us to search for the answers are the omnipresent questions: how, when, how far can we go, can we succeed, and can we forge new ground? Whether it be space, medicine, communication, or transportation, the questions remain. That's all the time for this week. I'm Ryan Seacrest. We'll see you again soon on The New Edge.